Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Let's Move Austin. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Teresa Bastian. Teresa.
Hello, Chris. Hello, everybody.
Good day to you. Good day to you. We're talking about condos. The condo market in Austin. How is the condo market in Austin?
The condo market in Austin is pretty varied. It depends if you're talking about city center, kind of high-rise condos, views, concierge, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or if you're talking about kind of the suburban condos that are more of a starter home, low maintenance, first-time buyer kind of downsizing opportunity. So two very different types of inventory, both called condos.
Yeah, and probably different types of buyers depending on who you are listening to this, like, different buyers for sure. Yeah, that's so good. I love condo.
So budget's probably the main distinguishing factor. There's probably more commonalities in what you need to think about with whether to buy a condo, even though the price points can be very different.
What are some of the things that people overlook when buying condos? Because there's a lot that goes into the thought process of condos.
Yeah, I find that the number one thing is the type of financing, which is not sexy. And I'm sorry if it's boring, but if you can't get the money to buy it, does it really matter if you like the rest?
Right. So true.
Oftentimes, because condos, especially outside the urban core, are priced so affordably, first-time buyers or people with limited resources are interested. Okay, this is like seen as a way to get a jump start on the housing market, and I agree with that. But remember, a lot of these first-time or lower income, not poor, but first-time buyer income, they want to have an FHA loan because typically you can put less down, and the down payment is often the hardest thing to come up with, right?
Right.
I mean, it was for me. So. In FHA, you, Chris, the buyer, have to meet the criteria for that type of loan. You have to have a certain credit score, certain amount of money in the bank, certain debt to income. You can't have, all these credit cards, all that. People get that as a buyer, you have to qualify.
Right.
But what people don't often think about is the condo community also has to qualify for an FHA loan. That's kind of, people don't expect that.
Like a property, like the property.
The thing you're buying has to be able to qualify for FHA to loan to someone buying there.
Right.
And usually it's not going to be a problem with the condition of the property, but FHA requires this condo community, this neighborhood of, 20 units or 200 units. It requires, one of the requirements is a certain percentage of those condos have to be owner occupied.
Oh, right.
So if there's a ton of rentals in there, not saying it's good or bad, just saying you can't get an FHA loan to buy one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, that condo community has to have a certain amount of insurance policy, and they have to have certain stipulations in the insurance for the whole community, and that has to be made available.
Right.
Well, if none of those things have happened, you can't get that kind of loan for that unit.
Yeah.
So first of all, we find out if you're an FHA buyer, is the condo you're interested in able to be financed through FHA?
Right.
Okay. So that's first. Second, most people understand what condo dues are and that condos have dues, monthly payment.
Right.
Most people don't understand what that covers and how that measures up to what your expenses in a house would be.
Right. Yeah. Good
So
point.
some people are like, well, there's a condo and a house and they're priced the same, but the condo has $200 a month in HOA dues. It's obviously a worse deal, but is it? Because if that covers, your roof and your exterior siding, maybe those are good. Maybe $200 a month or $1,200 a year is pretty good insurance than buying a house that's in more rough condition and might need a new roof soon. Where $1,200 probably won't even cover your insurance deductible.
Right. What about this? I don't know if this is related to that, but I think of property taxes as like one of those things that sneaks in. Are they different in condos than say in houses?
Well, unfortunately, we are seeing property valuations and taxes go up in Austin pretty solidly every year. And I would say that's the same with condos.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to get a trade-off one way or another just for the property type. We need to dig into, more precise of the unit you're interested in.
Yeah, got it.
But yeah, not so much that.
What else do people overlook in condos?
Well, I think people overlook maybe there's a certain type of condo that this happens to. There's a trend in Austin to take some older buildings and repurpose them and then sell them as condos. Okay. So I've seen this happen with like old motels or old apartment buildings. Sometimes as big as, multiple buildings like that used to be around a center, like, back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
This would be a vacation destination. They've taken and, gutted them and renovated them and made them cute. They're tiny, but cute. And they're marketing them as new condos. Right. But those structures are definitely not new. They're old. Yeah. And so I always encourage people to have a very thorough inspection done. Sometimes people think, well, it's a condo, I don't need to really worry. But if those sewer lines aren't solid, that's still your problem. Sure, from the building to the street is not your problem, but within your unit, you are responsible for those.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I've seen condo buildings where like the siding got water in between the siding and it ended up being like they had to redo the whole thing. And then if that happened after you bought and were living there, sometimes that price of that whole project gets shared among all the residents of.
Right. That's a great example. It's called a special assessment. I've also seen those where the pool at the condo needed to be, excessively redone. And that's a huge expense. Or they don't have the money to do it. So that now there's no pool available for use. And you've got this kind of an eyesore, which affects your resale value. Right. So when you place an offer on a condo, you have the opportunity to review the HOA docs. Most people just look and make sure that they can have a pet up to whatever pounds or, they just look to make sure there's nothing in the rules that offends them. Right. What I look at as the realtor and looking out for my buyers, I always look at the bank accounts because you do get a listing of their financials. Not the owner, not the seller of that unit, but talking about the community as a whole. Yeah. You can see what their number of units that are behind in dues is. You can see what their reserves is. Wow. You can see if there's a special assessment, like you said, for some giant project, like repainting everything or re-roofing. Yeah. You can see how long people have been on the board of directors sometimes, which is like, is it the same names over and over? Seem like there's a lot of participation? Right. These are things that I don't really expect an average buyer to know what they're looking at. Right. You do this like once, maybe twice a lifetime, but I sell a fair amount of condos, so I look at them pretty consistently. Yeah. Yeah. Another thing to look for is whether the community allows the type of rental that you might want in the future. Oh, yeah. Some people buy a condo and think, oh, well, if my situation changes, if I get transferred for work or I get engaged and we go to her house instead, I'll just use this as an Airbnb. Very, very, very common in condos to not allow rentals for shorter than 30 days. That's very common. Yeah. Some of them don't allow rentals at all unless you, the owner of that condo unit, has applied for a rental license with that community. Now, I'm not talking about city rules. Yeah. I'm talking about the rules of the property. Right. And interesting. After 30 have been issued that you pay for, they're not issuing anymore. So let's say you bought that and you've lived there for 4 or 5 years and you don't want to live there anymore, but you want to rent it out. Tough. You can't unless you have the permission or the rental allocation. Yeah, right. So I actually had, and this is a disturbing one because I had a condo buyer. They were interested in buying a brand new unit at the brand new Independence condo, which is going to be gorgeous high rise in downtown. It'll be the tallest building west of the Mississippi.
Wow.
Fun fact.
Wow.
And I got to tour it all the way up to the top, a hard hat tour a couple months ago. It was awesome. The views are amazing. But they, due to the rental need to have a rental permission, my buyer decided they didn't want to chance it. They weren't willing to take the risk of not being able to rent it in the future. So they didn't buy one. And I was really sad.
Yeah, I think that's really common for people to think about wanting to rent a condo, but then that's something you wouldn't even think of. Like, well, I just assumed I could. My realtor didn't tell me I couldn't. I didn't really talk to them about it because I just assumed. And
yeah, and unless you read those documents and that fine print, you won't know.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's so good. So anything else that people should know about buying condos?
I think you want to look at what the appreciation is. It's pretty easy to look back because condos are so homogenous. Yeah. But make sure your realtor or you are looking back at apples to apples, like in the same building, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, or at least in buildings with similar amenities. Sometimes, you know, with homes, we'll look at, you know, if there aren't a lot of sales in the exact neighborhood, we'll look at, neighborhoods that go to the same school.
Right.
Okay, but we look at the type of home. With condos, we want to make sure we're also comparing amenities. So if one had a pool and one doesn't, if one is gated and one doesn't, if one is a high rise with only balconies and the other has little yards, even if they're in the same end of town, if they don't match on amenities, it's not really an apples to apples comparison. So watch out for that when you're pricing a condo.
Yeah. So how do we answer the question, should I buy an Austin condo?
Well, I think there's a lot to consider. One thing is lifestyle. Many people travel for work these days. And if your idea of a good time isn't getting home for your 2 days a week that you are home and having to do a lot of household chores, mowing the yard, trimming the trees, doing maintenance, that's the number one reason I find that people will start looking at condos. And I think that's a really valid reason because most people, you know, especially in that first time buyer bracket, they don't have the extra capital to hire all of that stuff out. So
good point.
You're probably then not maintaining your house properly. Just think about a condo. You'll pay a little more in your monthly dues, but then it's consistent, predictable, and it's done for you.
Yep. That's so good.
The other is, factor when you think about lifestyle is downtown. So like, are you cut out for urban living? And one really cool thing, like if you're, the empty nester in the suburbs, your kids have gone to college and you're kind of like, why am I mowing this yard still? Could I live the glamorous life downtown? They have, in a lot of the high rises, they have weekly rentals. So you can actually rent a unit to kind of check out and see if you like being downtown. That's
a smart idea. I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Some of them are only available to guests of someone that lives at the high rise, but ask around. Your friendly realtor may know someone that we can, get you in there for a week. Because that's really the best way to know if you like riding an elevator down to get your morning paper, right? Yeah. Or get your morning coffee. Yeah. Is to do it for a time in a row.
I love that. I wish they do that with houses too. You could just like test drive the house and the condo. That's really cool.
Well, that's like, when I have people go under contract, if it's a neighborhood they don't know, I tell them drive by morning, noon, and night, Yeah. If you don't like driving through a neighborhood where kids are all over the cul-de-sac playing, then drive by at 7 p.m. and see if they are.
Yeah. Good point. I always think of like the things I don't think of. It's really good. It's really good.
Well, I've been doing this a few years, Chris.
That's why you are the forensic expert you are. So I love it. Well, Teresa, if people want to reach out to you to buy a condo.
One more thing on condos.
Yeah.
Can I have one more? You need to look at your homeowner's insurance. Did you know in Austin, there are actually condos that are in a floodplain?
What? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So your insurance can be 3 and 4 times what you might expect them to be.
Wow.
if you're working with a realtor and you're thinking about a condo, we can actually identify a couple properties that you're interested in, and we can get an insurance quote on those before you fall in love to make sure that, I mean, a lot of people think it's a condo. What could ever go wrong? There can still have things go wrong. Yeah. So we need to get those insurance quotes.
It's so sad when you fall in love with something and then you have some unexpected surprise, like, what? My insurance is going to be, and then now you can't afford it, or it's going to really squeeze your lifestyle.
Yeah. It's my job to make sure you don't fall in love too soon.
Yeah. That's good. It's good.
We don't want any unrequited love.
That's right. So if people want to, work with you to help them in that whole process, condos
I would love
or houses.
to help people with this. Okay. Yeah. Give me call or text 512-297-3442.
That's awesome. I love it. And you guys can also check out Teresa on her website, letsmoveaustin.com. It's always there and available.
We have lots of condos.
Yeah, that's right. Letsmoveaustin.com. I love it. Teresa, thanks for a great episode and all that you're doing to help the world of Austin be up to date and intelligent about their real estate thing. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Chris. Bye, everybody.
See ya.